Imagine this. You open the hive, a heavy frame in your hand, the smell of honey. Bees are calm, intake is steady, everything looks perfect. No panic, no visible disease, no reason to worry. And yet, your honey may already be failing a rigorous analysis in Hamburg or New York, without warning, without a clear cause, just silent, systemic collapse. I'm asking you directly, is it possible that a hive that visually appears healthy is actually producing a contaminated product? Because while you're looking at capped honey, the real problem has been accumulating for decades in a place that 90% of beekeepers don't control, in the wax. This is not a local story. This is a global problem costing beekeepers billions of dollars annually. Beeswax is not just a passive building material. It is lipophilic. In chemistry, that means it loves fats. It attracts, binds, and retains substances that dissolve in fats. Now let's add one critical factor that most beekeepers completely ignore: hive thermodynamics. The temperature in the brood area is constant at about 35 degrees, 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the ideal temperature for larval development, but it is also the point where wax becomes most dangerous. At that temperature, wax molecules become softer. Its structure expands. It becomes open to deep diffusion. In other words, wax behaves like a molecular sponge, but not like a regular sponge you can squeeze. This is a one-way reservoir. It absorbs toxins from the environment, from treatments you apply, and from the pollen bees bring in, and it never releases them back. Every pesticide, every fungicide, every acaricide enter the structure and stay there. Not for days, not for months, for years. And now I ask you, if you have been adding new substances into a system that removes nothing for decades, what do you think is the concentration of toxins in the frame you're holding in your hand? The problem has two main sources. First, external, environmental. Pesticides from fields, herbicides, fungicides. Bees bring them in through nectar and pollen, often in sublethal doses, doses that don't kill them immediately. But those doses end up in the wax. Second, internal, management. What you introduce yourself. Varroa treatments, synthetic acaricides, coumaphos, amitraz, fluvalinate. A question for you. Where do you think those treatments go after the strips are removed from the hive? They don't evaporate into nothing. They migrate into the wax. And every new treatment adds another ring to this toxic tree. In modern toxicology, 1 + 1 is not always 2. Often, 1 + 1 = 10. Let's imagine the level of fungicide in the wax is safe. Let's imagine the level of your Varroa treatment is also safe. But when those molecules meet inside a comb cell at 35 degrees Celsius, they create synergy. They become a chemical ambush that destroys the larva's immune system within hours. You don't see this as dead bees in front of the hive. You see it as bees that are less resistant, that somehow succumb to viruses more easily. That's not a virus. That's chemical suffocation of the system. Bees do not communicate with words. They communicate with pheromones. That is pure chemistry. The queen controls the hive through chemical signals. What happens when that communication channel, wax, is polluted with noise from thousands of other chemical molecules? The signals get lost. The result? A colony that exists but does not function at 100%. Larvae are literally bathing in residues. Their fat body absorbs these toxins during the most sensitive phase of development. Immunity drops before the bee even emerges. Reduced egg-laying rate, shorter queen lifespan. Beekeepers complain that queens no longer last 2 years. Of course they don't. They are living in a toxic environment that directly damages their reproductive system. Every brood cycle leaves behind a larval skin. Over time, the cell becomes narrower. The walls become thicker from accumulated wax and residues. What do you get? Smaller cells equals smaller bees. This is scientifically proven. A smaller bee has a shorter tongue, a smaller honey stomach, less flight power. Are you knowingly raising generations of dwarf bees that physically cannot deliver record yields? Let's talk about money. Beekeeping is a business, and you are losing profit you don't even see. If your colony, due to old wax and smaller bees, produces just 15% less honey, Scenario USA, US market. Average, 50 pounds per hive. Loss, 7.5 pounds. On 1,000 hives, 7,500 pounds. At $2.50 to $3 for bulk honey, loss exceeds $20,000 every year. If we're talking retail at $10 a pound, the loss jumps to $75,000. Scenario Europe, EU market, Germany, France. Average, 25 kilograms. Loss, 3.75 kilograms. On 100 hives, 375 kilograms. At a premium price of 12 to 15 euros to kilogram, loss exceeds 5,000 euros. Scenario UK and Australia. Similar numbers in pounds and Australian dollars. In Australia, where honey is often a premium product, eucalyptus, manuka, a 15% yield loss can mean the difference between a profitable year and bankruptcy. But the biggest cost is analysis risk. On the global market, buyers such as those in Japan or the EU have a zero-tolerance policy for certain substances. If your wax contaminates your honey, your product becomes worthless. You don't sell it as food, you sell it to industry for next to nothing. How much money are you willing to burn before you realize that a $3 frame is the most expensive item in your apiary? Beekeepers around the world believe one lie. I'll melt this black wax and it will be clean again. It won't. The melting point of wax is about 63 degrees Celsius, 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Most modern agricultural toxins and beekeeping chemicals, especially coumaphos, require temperatures above 200 degrees Celsius, 392 degrees Fahrenheit, to break down at the molecular level. At that temperature, wax ignites and disappears. This means the following. Wax recycling without control is just recycling the problem. You take toxins from 2020, mix them with toxins from 2024, and create new foundation that you give to young bees. You are creating a closed loop of contamination. Even an autoclave, high pressure and temperature, does not clean wax from chemicals. It only kills disease spores. The chemistry remains untouched. There is a boundary you do not see. Old wax is a magnet for pathogens. Nosema ceranae, chalk brood, American foul brood, AFB. Spores of these diseases survive in wax walls for decades. When bees polish a cell for new laying, they come into contact with spores that are 10 years old. Your apiary may be clean of varroa, but if the wax is old, you are maintaining a disease reservoir that is just waiting for an immunity drop to explode. This is not solved with hope. This is solved with protocol. The 33% rule, the 3-year rule. Every year, without exception, replace 1/3 of all brood frames. After 3 years, not a single molecule of old wax should remain in the hive. Own wax strategy, closed loop. Stop buying foundation from unknown sources. You are buying someone else's mistakes. Collect only virgin comb, cappings, and burr comb. That wax is clean. It has never been exposed to years of treatments. Ask processors for custom foundation made exclusively from your material. Source control. If you buy wax, demand laboratory residue analysis. On the global market, this is no longer a luxury. It is a standard. This is not a cost. This is insurance for your yield. Beekeeping has changed irreversibly. This is no longer a 19th century hobby where nature does everything on its own. This is a high-tech biological system. In that system, wax is the hardware. If the hardware is full of viruses and errors, no software, good genetics or expensive feeding, will help you. If the wax is contaminated, everything you build on it carries that burden. If it is clean, the entire system gains wings. The question is simple. Do you control your system, or does the system control your profit? If you want beekeeping that delivers maximum yield per hive, USA, EU standard, produces honey that passes the strictest global tests, builds a stable, long-term business, then you must start from the foundation, from the wax. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because this is not just education. This is your survival strategy in the global market. In the next episode, we go even deeper into system control. I will show you a process that most beekeepers leave to chance, but that directly determines the strength, stability, and long-term potential of your apiary. producing your own queens, not as theory, but as an operational system that gives you full control over genetics, yield, and colony behavior. Because the moment you start creating your own queens, you are no longer dependent on the market. You become the system, and that's when everything changes. See you in the next one.